this first so I can know what color is what. And for the rocks, because you can see the image has mostly the rocks, a little bit of green there, and then the water. This is what the title is gonna be. Those are the colors for the title. So the way I do these is I start off with a second bright color. So for this part, it's gonna be 596. 596, and then I'll go a little bit dark. So I'm going to start with the 596 for this one. And sometimes it's good to just let it rip instead of, overthinking it. So I'm going to start with those. And then the 892. It's going to be coming in like on that side like that. So these are the fine tip and broad. Oh, you may want to get the brush and fine tip. Those would be the best at a job like this. Me, I go along with this because I've kind of used them for some time now, so I'm a little bit comfortable with them. But honestly, if you're just starting out, it's better to go with the brush tip. So now I'm going to take my darkest color, and it will fill in here in the corners, just to give me kind of a range, like so. And there you got it, guys. That's how I blend these colors. So every once in a while I could go back on top with an even brighter color to fill everything up. But sometimes I just use the colorless blend for this. And alcohol markers will show you the effect right away, but the longer it sits is the more it kind of blends, if I should say. So that's how you blend these colors, and then after this it's a rinse and repeat until we finish this entire shell, and then I'll show you how I deal with this side over here. So this page is from my book. It's Tattoo Tells, and what's gonna happen as we color this page in, every once in a while, if you want me to show you a flip through of some of the pages that we've done, I'll be glad to do that. So if you just want to see a flip through, just go in a chat and just say flip through, and I'll show you what it looks like. So after this, as I said, it's a rinse and repeat. So it's not that complicated at this point. After you figure out what your formula is going to be for coloring that particular image. I think we're ready to start now. to go ahead and do this first so I can know what color is what. Allergies are killing me this morning, but we'll be able to do this. So I'm going to start with the YR892. YR892. It's going to be that almost orange vermilion. It's called a French vermilion actually. 468. These are Ohuhu markers, alcohol markers. So that's going to be my darkest. We're going to move from this to this. It's going to be a challenge that we're willing to take on. Let me see what is next. Is 596. So I had to choose out these fast, and you can see a pattern here. How we're gonna go bright. 496. Those are close. 596 and a 496. It's a whole 10 shades jump, because now we're trying to get even brighter. Oof. I think I may have to reverse 495, 496. Yeah, this may have to go here, and then this goes over there. All right. And for the rocks, because you can see the image has mostly the rocks, a little bit of grain there, and then the water. This is what the title is going to be. Those are the colors for the title. So the way I do these is I start off with the second bright color. So for this part, it's going to be 596. 596. And then I go a little bit dark. So I'm going to start with the 596 for this one. And sometimes it's good to just let it rip instead of, overthinking it. So I'm going to start with those. And then the 892. It's going to be coming in like on that side like that. So these are the fine tip and broad, or what is supposed to be the chisel. If you want blending and all that good stuff, you may want to get the brush and fine tip. Those would be the best at a job like this. Me, I go along with this because I've kind of used them for some time now, so I'm a little bit comfortable with them. But honestly, if you're just starting out, it's better to go with the brush tip. So now I'm going to take my darkest color. And it will fill in here in the corners, just to give me kind of a range, like so. And there you got it, guys. That's how I blend these colors. So every once in a while I could go back on top with an even brighter color to fill everything up. But sometimes I just use the colorless blend for this. And alcohol markers will show you the effect right away, but the longer it sits is the more it kind of blends, if I should say. So that's how you blend these colors, and then after this it's a rinse and repeat until we finish this entire shell, and then I'll show you how I deal with this side over here. So this page is from my book. It's Tattoo Tells, and what's gonna happen as we color this page in, every once in a while, if you want me to show you a flip through of some of the pages that we've done, I'll be glad to do that. So if you just want to see a flip through, just go in the chat and just say flip through, and I'll show you what it looks like. So after this, as I said, it's a rinse and repeat. So it's not that complicated at this point. After you figure out what your formula is going to be for coloring that particular image. So with that, then I'm going to bring in the third brightest color. You can see I'm intentionally leaving some spaces on the end, just so I can introduce the other color in the mix. So here we go for our darkest. Like so. And now I'm going to bring in our brightest color to finish it off. And by the way, that's not the end of it, because at the end of it all, we're going to get a little bit of a white in there with a gel pen. So we'll go say in these places that are even more bright to enhance the to enhance the highlights. But I love this sometimes when it leaves a little bit of that. It gives you a watercolor effect-ish. So it's good. And so now, when you want to go say in here, it's a thing of a choice. So when I go up here, I may want this part to be a lot more bright, so I use the last three brightest colors. If I want this area set to be dark, I'll use the last three darkest ones without introducing the fourth or fifth brightest. So that's my pattern. And for this one, I think I'm gonna go, because the water is gonna be on this side is gonna be rocks, so I'm gonna go brighter here and I'm gonna go darker here. So which means we're gonna go with the three brightest for the top part. And since the spaces are small, this time we're gonna go with a fine. And let me shade this one in conclusively so we can see what it looks like. So this is going to be our darkest shade for this. And we introduce the brightest. And that's how we're going to do these top ones. And for the bottom ones, we're going to go for the dark 3. That's how I do it. So now, I literally haven't found any other markers that paint as good as these Ohuhu alcohol markers. Like it's really interesting. interesting. They're really interesting mark as well. Me personally, I love them. And my goal one day is to get Ohuhu's attention. So probably they'll give me a brand deal. I could work with them. It's far-fetched, but maybe. You can never say never. There we go. And we introduce the brightest. Like so. And at this point it's a rinse and repeat. But now we're gonna start to go even darker. Because now we're coming close to a place where it's gonna start to get where we want it to get even the darkest. So for these 3 shells, I'm gonna go back to the formula. Like this. So for this one, I have to introduce the darkest color. Just a little touch. Just a little touch, not too much. And when they get smaller, now I can even go for 2 at a time. Because now they're getting smaller. But now we're introducing even our darkest color on the palette. And sometimes with these things, when you are in the thick of it, when you're coloring it in, it doesn't show like there's a difference. So from in the shades of the colors that you have, but it's alcohol markers. So you have to be patient and let them sit sometimes for a little bit. Then they'll show up. And if your blending job is good, it will be seamless. See, like that. It gives you kind of like a watercolor effect. It's just beautiful. So now we went brightest here. So now we're gonna go darkest here. So we're gonna use the last 3 dark ones. I'm gonna start with this one, like a middle-ish tone. The one that adds or has the most color. And I'll go for this one. And now I'm gonna go for my darkest tone. And I'll go for the brightest for this. And I think that's going to work for this side. So this side is going to be the darkest side. So it's actually a good idea every once in a while to plan out, especially for me, the colors before you start work. You don't want to be in the middle of it and then you're just figuring it out. For me, I lay out my colors first. That way I come up with kind of like a formula to do this. That's how I efficiently work. I'll be a little faster because I'm a slow artist. I take forever. And now we're gonna go on the flow on these ones. So when I was designing this coloring book, I was going for the satisfaction effect, and why I created some small cells on here for people to color is that usually when you're concentrating on something small like this, to try to blend it in, to try to make it look good, your mind goes off of everything else, and all you do is concentrate on that one little cell. With the smell of alcohol, markers, or whatever you're using, it could be just a smell of crayons or colored pencils, you tend to zone out. Well, I tend to zone out and get lost into what I'm doing, and believe it or not, that's when the relaxation part while you're coloring comes in. That's when you begin to feel like you're lost in that moment. The thing is, now I have to do it while I talk to you guys, but if I wasn't, it would be a different case. It would totally be a different vibe. The time stops for a little bit, that's all I should say. But see, if you come up with a formula kind of the way you want to blend these colors on that particular section of the drawing, it becomes easy. It becomes easy in that point if you chose beautiful colors, or if you chose colors that resonate with whatever you're doing. Then your mind starts wandering off to the final product, how it all is gonna look at the end. So it managed to show dark, bright, brighter, and brightest shades, and I think it's beautiful. It's kind of like pulling us in here, and this one is gonna show it even more. So, but for this one, I'm not gonna go for the darkest part. I'm gonna go for the three last shades. And let me start with this one. And I'm gonna bring in this one. Maybe I'll use the darkest a little bit in the corner there. And I'm gonna bring in this one. Some of the colors I lay down And I even, like, literally, you just seen what happened there. All the way paint on top of them. Still no worries, I'm telling you. If you chose your colors right and your formula is working, even if you paint on top of them, there's a certain way it's gonna mix and it will create a shade, like almost color mixing. So what's gonna happen, I'm gonna go for this. I'm not gonna go for the darkest here. Maybe a little touch in the corner here. Let me just add it. Sometimes I have to go with my intuition. So I'm gonna add it in here in the corner a little bit. And I will go over it with the most colorful second darkest shade I have. So it's not very lining. It just fades in. That's exactly what I was going for. So I have these ones. This one is gonna be like this, just a little bit brighter, and these I think are gonna be like that. So we're gonna go for dark color first, and of course paint over it. While we try to go all the way to the edges. Introduce an even lighter color. So even the way I pick up my colors, I make sure that they are all in a row, from the darkest to the brightest. So when I go to pick, there's no mistake. Every once in a while I hold like 2 or 3 markers at the same time. Again, this darkest is going to be just a little touch in the corner there. And I'm going to go over it with my second darkest shade just to blend it in. Alright, so there we're going. Almost 50% of the tattoo is done. If you want to see a flip through, just say flip in the comments or in the chat. Excuse me. And I'll give you a flip through of the images in this coloring book. Now we're gonna go even more bright. In there a little bit. And finish it off with that. Sometimes I cannot hide my painting skills. They literally have to show up somehow, somewhere, even though I'm using markers. So now we're losing even the pattern of of the way we were doing these, because we can have this go off bright in any direction at this point. There we go. So you see the little lining in there that is staying white, that stays in there. Usually I go for a total opposite color. Like right now I could go for a neon green, or I could go for a bright pink. Usually I try to go for neon colors to fill that in there. The only catch is that I want that color to be part of what is gonna color in here. So my goal now is to look for an even brighter color that can both fill in that white line that is staying on the main shell, and I could use it in the leg and the main body. So for that one, let me see. I'm gonna go for where are my color palettes and swatches. Where are my swatches? Here are my swatches. So I could go for one of these, or even that, or that. I think I actually will go for this. Yeah, let me go for that color. It tries to give it this electric look. This right here. So fluorescent pink, Y040. Alright, so we got it. FY040. And this one, there's no overthinking it. Just put it down. It's gonna look dumb, but hang on. After it goes all in there, you're gonna see that electric kind of effect that I'm talking about. These ones I always look for an opposite. And this is where the fine tip comes in handy. Because it's kind of so you see the electric look that I'm talking about. It feels like magma, and these are rocks, and it's molten lava, pink lava, fluorescent going through it. It gives it that exotic electric look. So the only challenge that this poses at this point is that now I have to use this color in here, in his main body. So I figure out a way of blending this in here now. But maybe it will be close to this color. So we're gonna figure out a way of using it in here as well. All right, so so now it's time to go for the main body here. And I'll put that fluorescent color over on the side for now. And the main body is I usually want to start with my bright colors, my brightest shades of what I used in here to kind of distinguish it from the main shell. So what I'm gonna go for, let me start with this hind one. I totally highly recommend painting it in like this. Instead of trying to go for that particular shell at a time, you will be very frustrated if you try to go for a shell at a time. So the way I do it is I do it like that. And now I can take either the brightest color or the dullest color. Or the darkest. This one I have in my hand is the darkest. And then go for the lining and the details a little bit just to show a little bit of an indication in there. So I'll go here. And I'll go for those details just a little bit. Just to show a little detail. You don't have to fuss it too much. So I realized I need even a brighter color in yellow. In yellow or orange. So I'm adding an even more fluorescent color now. And it's good to make these decisions before the alcohol dries out all the way, if you want to have a little bit of a blending effect on it. But now, remember I said I want to have this fluorescent pink be included in his main body. So this is a time for it. And just a little bit of where that line is kind of visible. And in here, I just go with a few dots here and there. Just to enhance the detail. Like so. So that's good, and you can see I left little specks of white where I was putting the details. That's not by mistake, because later on when we're doing the highlight, we could just go with just a scratch of a white pen like that, and it will be able to show through, like, you know, like that. All right, so we figured out how we're going to attack this. And this is supposed to be our darkest because these ones are more vivid. So this one we may not even use the darkest shades that we have yet. And we're gonna work on the legs, both these two legs first before we go to the main body. And the main body is kind of the same concept, but we may introduce a more fluorescent yellowish color that is off of this a little bit more in the main body. So for this one, I'll go for this. You realize how I pay attention a little bit to some of these features, not just paint over them. And we're gonna go for our second brightest. You want to have a little bit of a directional at this point. I mean, like, you're not supposed to paint texture, but just suggest it. Just suggest the texture at this point. So this is gonna cover this off, like so. And now we're going to bring the two colors we recently introduced, the orange, that fluorescent orange, again trying not to paint the texture but just kind of suggesting it. And now the most bizarre color that we have for this entire turtle is gonna still show up here. But you realize when it comes to this color that even in the main body it's sticking to the inside where kind of the magma is flowing through. That was the purpose of introducing this color, and it's the only color that is gonna stick to that. And there we go. It rounds it off a little bit like that. So I'm gonna try to introduce it in here too as well, but not too much, because I'm gonna finish this part off with a little bit more orange. So if I introduce it here, it will just be embedded on the inside. Because what's gonna go ahead and happen is we're gonna paint over it with the orange. And you can see, because there's an orange already in places like this, when you introduce it, our purple, it shows up as a different color, and it's actually very cute. So now we grab a shade of orange and we're gonna go crazy-ish a little bit here. There we go. And I'll go with even a more neon orange to fill in these blanks. go. So what I may do for these ones, because you see how this dark color looks good here, and we have it only like here, I may introduce a little bit of it in the details as well. The suggested details, just a few specks in there. And there are, of course, directional, which means they are all into these cells from a different part. I mean, from the same part. I don't want to dot every single one of them. There we go. What do you guys think about that? Remember, we haven't gone for the highlights and the white pen yet. We will go for that in a bit. But for now, I'm going to start with the fluorescent colors for this side, but let's paint this leg in first, actually. Those are tricky. Again, we're introducing our usual suspect. Like so. I'm going to take a fluorescent color and I'll just put a smudge right here like this. Just so I make sure all the colors that I'm using are in every part of this thing. Because otherwise you'll actually see them not showing up where you want them to show up. So now, let me bring this thing in focus. Hopefully you guys can see it. Yeah, that's a lot better. We're going to start working on these parts here. And for those, I will we'll go with this too. And I'm gonna start with this color. And I'll go for a brighter orange. So this, at this time, it's almost like painting. So you have to treat the whole thing. Just look at the forms of it without going for the details at this point. We're gonna look at that in a minute, but you have to paint over it as though it was one piece fast. Paint over it as though it's one piece first. And now we can start fussing about the details, but at this point it's going to be easier because we're going to go for 468, which is our darkest color, and we're going to go in with a little bit of details somewhere, like here. Almost like just adding those shades on it here and there, just to suggest the texture. Remember what I said still, the texture should be just suggested, not drawn on. If you fuss a lot about the texture, then you're gonna end up just drawing it on and it's gonna look even more messy. It is supposed to be just suggested. Like that. And those on the head are even more important. But of course, we're not gonna finish that part until we introduce our crazy color. that. So now our turtle is starting to look even more full. And after this, we're going to go to the part that I like the most, which is highlights. So for the highlights, I actually use a pen. I use this Jelly Raw. Number 8 is my favorite. And for the highlights, we're going to start right away where the eye section is. My Jelly Raw is refusing to work today. And sometimes I put the highlight down and then I smear them with my finger. At the end of the drawing, I usually have a white finger in there. I try my level best not to go crazy with the highlights, but sometimes it's impossible. I just have to. I just can't stop myself when I have a white pen in my hands. I really just can't help it. So those help out bring out even the foam of those shells even more. It's kind of like a little dab of life that you add to your work when you get out the white ink. And thank God the pen's nib is so small. So with these you can add them anywhere that you want. You will be able to go there. And doing these sections. And you can see where we were coloring in with the marker. say where one color was stopping for the other to give way for the other color is where you go in with this. It puts the best highlight. And then there is some places like this where we have clear white. Most of the times I look back at my work and I say, yeah, that's a little too many highlights. I did way too much. It is what it is. I just go crazy with these when they get into my hands. Maybe that's my signature move. And there you go. Now you have it with the highlights in there. And it's starting to look like it's life. It's filled with life in the middle of nothing because all its surroundings are not colored in. That's one thing that some people do. Some people color the environment fast before they go in for the main character. I do it totally opposite. I usually go for the main character first. I don't know why. Anywho, we have all the colors picked out for the surrounding, at least for the rocks. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch them. E557, E557, and this is when I'm gonna see if they're so close to what, because I think when I was picking them, I thought they were so close to what the main character is. So I may have to change this entirely. E769. E769. Oh yeah, I may need to change this. E63. 463. And E477. Oh yeah, this gotta go. I can't have the main character like this and then have the surrounding like this. This is just gonna blend right into that. I don't know what I was thinking. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go for the green because those ones are visible. I'm gonna go for the greens and I'm gonna go for the background in the water. And I'm gonna try to go for a deep blue here and a lighter blue here. And then I'll go for the greens. Let me go for the greens first because those ones are straightforward. Those ones are straightforward. And this is my swatch for the greens. So I think I'm gonna go for these greens here. So I need G473. G473 first. That's a G473. G4, where are we? G473. We're gonna go for a G487. G487, and we're gonna finish them off with so we're gonna choose these three here. We're gonna try to stay simple. G458. G458. So this is why I like choosing my colors before I even start, because when you finally start, you don't want to be doing this, and it just happens that I didn't have these out. 45873 are the lightest. So I'm going to start with the 73. And this is, we're going for the plants in here. So I'm going to start from the bottom here. So there's no rhyme or formula to these. I just try to make sure that every cell is filled in. And I just give them a little bit of a dynamic. So these ones I usually intuitively paint, you could say. So now I'm testing this out. And I'm gonna bring in the brightest, which is almost yellowish. I think it's a big jump with these three colors. They're not close to each other at all, but I think it will work perfect. So now that's, I figured out what I'm gonna do with those. I'm just gonna go ahead and go crazy with that. I'm gonna take one color through it all first, and then I'll be back with the other two. Here, just try to make sure one color dominates, and the other two are just showing a little bit of highlights and shades in there. Like you can clearly see how that one is dominating. And now we're gonna go with the second color. Still putting in mind that we wanna have the other color in there as well. So I'll leave some room for it. But since these are very, very tiny spaces, you could even use 2 colors on them and get away with it. So now the brightest, almost yellow, is gonna go on top to try to finish everything in there. Like so. And then later on I could come in with a highlight of white. Sometimes I use a grayscale too. And then blend it in with the colorless blender. I'm also consciously leaving some spaces. So when we paint the rocks behind it, those spaces will come through a little bit. So it's more natural. Alright, like that. And later on, so what I was talking about with this white, later on we'll come in with a little highlight like that. To give it even a little bit more flavor. But for now, let's concentrate on finishing these. So this is dark now. Now these ones are going to be even more lighter, so I may have to drop the darkest shade. And make the second dark shade the main character here as it transitions this way. You can see as it transitions this way to the end where I want it to be brightest, I'm putting even less color. So I'm going to start with this side where I want more of the bright color. And so at this point it's a conscious decision on what color I want to see the most in order for me to get the effect of it darker here and bright. So now I'll take my darkest green and put just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit to almost none by the time we get to this side. Like that. So you get the sense that it's brighter here and it gets darker while it goes this way. That was the plan. Like that. So that's how we're gonna paint the specks of the green. We have 3 main ones, and this one will be our crazy color we have in here. So we finished with this one. We're gonna tackle these 2, and then we'll do the last one, the darkest, which is gonna be also the farthest away, the last. So we're gonna go for these right now. And these 2, I'm gonna use only the 2 brightest color, and I'm gonna actually introduce a little bit of an orange in there as well. And thank God for the way these ones are drawn. They're a little bit straight, so I could just go with one. I could just go with one line from the top all the way to the bottom. And the little spaces that stay in there will be for the lightest green, just for a little bit of a highlight. That's it. Alright, so we're gonna go in with that lighter color. I just got an idea actually. I love how this is coming out. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave it on top. We're not gonna reach the roots of the grass. Somewhere it's actually blending in right. So we're gonna leave it on the top, and I'll actually bring the dark one. And put it just a little bit on the roots here. Like on the base of the plant. It will add a different dynamic to it. See, it added a different dynamic to it that I actually liked. And I may choose to go dark on this one. and with just this bluish one, I'm gonna go on top of those. So that one is gonna stay neutral color like that. I'm not gonna put this yellowish green in it. So it said it was going to introduce the orange, and that is the orange right there. I think it goes good with these colors here. So it's a little bit muted and it doesn't show a very big contrast, but it also works with it. And then it's the same colors that we have in our title. So I think that works. So guys, what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to tackle this last bush here. Let me bring it in focus so y'all can see what I'm talking about.